Motivation is the most dangerous lie men believe because it feels right. It feels powerful. It feels like the beginning of change. It feels like control, but it is unstable. And anything unstable cannot build a stable life. Most men are addicted to motivation. They wait for it. They depend on it. They believe that when motivation is high, they will finally become consistent. But they never do, because motivation does not create discipline. It replaces it. It tricks you into thinking you are progressing when you are only reacting. Motivation is emotional, and emotion is unreliable. Some days you feel unstoppable, other days you feel nothing. No energy, no focus, no drive. And in those days, your entire system collapses because there is no system, only feeling. This is why most men live in cycles. They start strong, they disappear quietly, they restart again, and call it progress. But it's not progress. It's repetition without growth. Strong men don't live like this. They don't trust motivation. They don't wait for the right feeling. They remove feeling from the decision entirely because they understand something most men avoid. If your actions depend on how you feel, you are not in control. You are being controlled. The man who needs motivation is a man who negotiates with himself, and negotiation creates weakness. I'll start tomorrow. I'll do it later. I'm not feeling it today. That's not laziness. That's lack of structure. Because when a system exists, there is nothing to negotiate. You don't wake up and decide. You wake up and execute. You don't ask if you feel like training. You train. You don't debate whether to work. You work. The system removes the question, and once the question disappears, so does hesitation. That is where real power begins. Not in emotion, not in intensity, but in repetition, cold, predictable, unbreakable repetition. The man who never fails is not the most motivated. He is the most automated. Failure is not random. It is predictable. And most of the time, it comes from one place: too many decisions. Every time you wake up and ask yourself what to do, you create friction. Every time you hesitate, you lose energy. Every time you think, you delay action. And delay is where failure begins. Weak men live in decision. What should I do today? Should I train? Should I work? Should I rest? Every question is a gap. And inside that gap, comfort enters. Distraction enters. Excuses enter. Strong men remove that gap completely. They don't decide daily. They design once, and then they follow. Wake up, same time. Train, same hour. Work, same block. Rest, controlled. No variation, no emotional input, because structure replaces thinking. And thinking, when undisciplined, is the enemy of execution. The man who never fails has already decided his day before it begins. He doesn't wake up and wonder. He wakes up into a system. That's the difference. Weak men spend energy choosing. Strong men spend energy executing. And execution compounds. Because repetition removes resistance. The more predictable your actions become, the less effort they require, until discipline feels automatic. Not easy. Automatic. You no longer fight yourself. You move. Without hesitation, without delay, without negotiation. That's when your life changes. Not when you feel ready, but when your system runs without you. You don't become a disciplined man by deciding to be one. You become him by repeating actions until they define you. Identity is not a thought, it's a pattern. Most men try to change identity through motivation. They say, I want to be more focused. I want to be more disciplined. I want to be better. But wanting does nothing, because identity doesn't listen to words. It listens to repetition. If you wake up late every day, you are not a disciplined man. If you skip training consistently, you are not a disciplined man. If you delay work, avoid pressure, and chase comfort, your identity is already defined. and it's not the one you want. Strong men understand this early. They don't try to feel different. They act different, repeatedly, relentlessly, even when it's boring, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it feels pointless, because they know something most men ignore. Repetition rewrites identity. Every time you execute your system, you send a signal. I am this kind of man, not once, not occasionally, daily. That's how identity is built. Not in intensity, in consistency. The man who trains every day doesn't need to say he's disciplined. The man who works every day doesn't need to prove he's focused. The pattern speaks, and over time, something shifts. You stop resisting, you stop questioning, you stop negotiating, because the behavior becomes who you are. At that point, discipline is no longer effort, it is identity, and identity does not break easily. Failure needs variables, uncertainty, emotion, distraction, choice. Remove those, and failure has nowhere to exist. That's what systems do. They eliminate randomness. They remove dependence on mood. They reduce exposure to distraction. They limit unnecessary decisions. And when those disappear, execution becomes predictable. The man who never fails does not rely on strength of will. He removes situations where willpower is required. He doesn't keep distractions nearby. He doesn't create flexible schedules. He doesn't allow gaps, because gaps create risk, and risk creates failure. Strong men build environments that force discipline, not environments that test it. They control their time. They control their space. They control their inputs, what they see, what they hear, what they consume, because everything shapes behavior, and behavior shapes outcome. Weak men try to resist temptation. Strong men remove it. Weak men try to push harder. Strong men design smarter. That's the difference. The man who depends on effort will eventually break. The man who depends on structure keeps moving, because his system does the work for him. And once your system is strong enough, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to follow. If you want to stop failing, you don't need more motivation. You need a system that removes the possibility of failure. This is the code. Wake up at the same time. Every day. No exceptions. No negotiations. Your morning sets your standard. Train your body. Not when you feel like it, when it's scheduled. Because physical discipline spills into everything else. Work in defined blocks. No distractions, no multitasking, no chaos. One task, full execution. Control your inputs. What you watch, what you listen to, what you consume. Because weak input creates weak output. Track your actions, not your feelings. Did you execute or did you hesitate? That's all that matters. Remove unnecessary decisions. Eat the same meals. Train at the same time. Work in the same structure. Repetition is not boring. It's powerful, because every repeated action reinforces identity, and identity drives behavior automatically. Prepare for the next day before the current one ends. A man who plans at night wakes up ready. A man who doesn't wakes up lost. And above all, never negotiate with yourself. The moment you start negotiating, you start losing. The system exists so you don't have to think. You follow, you execute, you repeat. That's it. Simple, but brutal. Because most men won't do it. They will keep chasing motivation, keep restarting, keep failing, but not you. Because now you understand. The man who never fails is not special. He is structured, and structure makes success inevitable. This is Disobey Your Limits.